What's going on, guys? Hope you're all having a good Tuesday. Let's get into it. We're not going to have sheets for this one, unfortunately, which we're sorry not to. It's the summertime. We're going to have some in and outs, as you've seen from me, from sheets. We haven't been able to get as much with Brody this year, but we'll make sure we got you guys covered no matter what. Real quickly, I'm going to go through like my plays, but when you get on into chat, as usual, please say what's up and please pop in questions anytime. I'll get to them as soon as I'm able to, but I'm going to go through what I'm doing mostly, and then we will talk about what we think, if there's any questions, what you guys are doing, maybe where we have some differences, because I don't remember a 13-game slate that had this many pitching, what the hell are we doing here kind of situations. Like, I actually feel like every time someone asks me about a pitcher today, I'm like, my natural instinct is like, why would I play that guy? And then I just go, well, I have to play somebody. So it's kind of tricky. So starting on DraftKings, I'm going to be, I'll just go through the projected highest owned pitchers and say whether I'll be above or below. I'll probably be near the field on Zach Wheeler just because of how much value there is, but maybe a little bit below. I don't like this matchup. I just think that you want to try to get a feel good about 20 points. Maybe it's more of a cashy type play. But I'll probably be near the field on Wheeler, assuming that he's around 25%. Maybe I'll say a little below, probably around 20% of Wheeler is where I'm going to be at. Pivetta, my plan was to be way below the field. If he's going to be 30% owned, I'll be below the field of around 20. It still feels a little lousy, but that's how I feel about every pitcher, so we're just going to deal with it. Kikuchi, probably going to be around 18%, 20%. I am going to be below that. I am going to be, just slightly below. Bailey Ober, I am going to probably be just about with the field on Bailey Ober at 15%. You're going to hear a lot of that from me. I'll be above the field on Dakota Hudson. I'll be below the field on Jordan Montgomery. I'll be below the field on David Peterson because I'm worried about the weather in that game. I'll be way above the field on Kyle Hendricks. I'll be way above the field on Bobby Miller. I'll be way above the field on Emerson Hancock. And I'll be way above the field on Bryce Elder. Basically, everyone else is crossed out. I have one Toussaint lineup. I have on FanDuel more. I have some interest in the taking a weird shot on Giolito just because of how strange the slate is. I also will probably end up with one or two Josiah Gray lineups just because I really don't feel that anybody's that great here. I have one Zach Little lineup. I just really spread out a lot of pitching, and it's just, there's the 111 today, which I'm playing 11 entries in. There's the 222 on FanDuel, which I'm playing a couple entries in. But I am spreading out a lot of my pitching. And on FanDuel, the pitchers I'm using are Wheeler and Giolito right now. If anybody wants to criticize me for Giolito against Texas, go ahead. He's 8,600. He has literally the same upside as anybody on the slate, maybe with the exception of Wheeler. I'm going to gamble and take that chance. So, and on FanDuel, the stacks that I found a little bit more than I did on DraftKings were St. Louis, little mini pieces of Arizona, Colorado, and then I have a lot of the Dodgers and Braves. And I was actually able to get a nice Dodgers-Brave stack together with Giolito as a pitcher, and I really like that build. Overall, for me, it's, again, these are not necessarily in particular order because it's pretty close. I like Atlanta, St. Louis, the Dodgers, and Seattle the most as full stacks, and Minnesota would be the next team for me. Minnesota, you could argue on DraftKings would be ahead because they're so cheap, but I just don't like the lineup very much. I just like the situation. So I think I'm going to end up with a good amount. And the thing I like about these, there are great hitting conditions in all these places: Atlanta, St. Louis, the Dodgers, and Seattle with an upgrade just because they're not playing in Seattle. So the Dodgers are the one I'm going to be the most overweight the field on. Atlanta, I will be above the field, obviously, and I'll be way above the field on St. Louis. But and then Minnesota would be the next one for me. And I actually think with the number of options today, you could play an Arizona full stack. I just didn't. I kept them maxed out at 3. I think I have one 4-man stack on DraftKings as a 4-4 with Colorado, actually, who I don't expect to get much ownership. I do think you can completely play a full Colorado lineup if you want to. I don't like the bullpen game situation. I don't like their lineup very much, but you have really cheap Blackmon and Brendan Rodgers. I like Tovar at short. I like Ryan McMahon. So I like the idea of maybe getting some pieces. I think you could play the full stack. I'm just not personally going to. So most of my builds are going to come from Atlanta, the Dodgers, St. Louis, Seattle. I also, and then again, Colorado and Arizona, it's going to be pieces for me. They're going to be filling out a lot of my full stacks today. Positions. Catcher, I like Will Smith and Sean Murphy on the high end. Moreno's really hard to ignore at that price on the low end. And then in the middle tier-ish, a little higher middle tier, I like Cal Raleigh. First base, you've got Burleson for value, Mike Ford for value. You've got Ty France for value. And then you got your spend-ups, which are going to be Goldschmidt, Freeman, Olson, and Christian Walker for me. Those are the guys I'm playing. Second base, I'm using Mookie there quite a bit. I have a decent amount of Ketel Marte. I don't love the position, so I ended up – I don't love second base and short that much. Second base is better than short, but I have Caballero in Seattle stacks. I even have a little bit of him outside just because he's 2,100. I'd rather have him correlated with somebody there, but I do have some of them just in complete transparency. Brendan Rodgers, Buddy Kennedy. So you can see I'm using the places I don't like very much with the games that I'm going to be fading the full stack but playing pieces of. So that's the way I'm sort of treating catcher, second base, shortstop today. I'm playing a lot. I'll get to shortstop in a minute, but I'm playing a lot more Tovar, a lot more than I planned to. Third base, spend-ups are Arenado, Riley, and Muncy. Spend downs, Royce Lewis. Not spend all the way down, more mid-tier, but Suarez at 4,300 I like a lot. Arenado, I mentioned Arenado already. Matt Vierling has a good price if you want to play a cheap guy there. I don't love it, but just another cheap option. Shortstop, in my Brave stack, I am playing Nicky Lopez, and it's kind of stupid that he had the game that he did last night, and he's now had like his two best games of the year in the last 3 games. Nicky Lopez is so likely to put up 0, but if I'm playing a 5-man Atlanta stack, he does make it work, and there's going to be opportunities for him to score, steal bases, and drive in runs because I expect him to score some runs tonight on Severino. I also have this really weird thing with Severino. I think I'm going to throw him in one lineup just because it's like we have so many weird pitchers out today, so many weird pitchers we're throwing out there. Is it so crazy to play a guy who used to be good and take a shot? On another slate, I would say it's crazy to play him. On this slate, I think it's okay to just take a really, really big gamble, and also it hedges my Atlanta stacks. So outfield, Corbin Carroll, at the top end with Acuna and Betts, although Betts is more on the second base side for me. I like Blackmon. I like that price. Matt Wallner at 2,400, 2,500 for Canzone, Julio Rodriguez, Teoscar Hernandez, Max Kepler, Michael Harris, Eddie Rosario, and then the Dodgers, whoever it ends up being, whether it's Peralta, Outman, Hayward, whoever's in, I'm going to be playing those guys. And even I'll force my way to get to JD Martinez if they do let him play, although he would be my least desirable Dodger because of the hamstring injury. So that is basically what I'm doing on this slate. I would love to hear any questions, love to talk about anything else you guys want to. So we'll go as long as we can with see what you got. What's up to Kevin? What's up to my man K9 and to Rich B? Rich B's got the Dodgers, Cardinals, and Seattle. Hey, Rich, maybe we can both win a tournament tonight. That would be fun. We both have those stacks. And Atlanta, of course. There you go. I think the one thing that happens with the Dodgers, and I think people underestimate it a lot, is the lineups coming out later. I really do think makes a difference to people. So West Coast teams tend to be under-owned in general. I also think Hauser has like a decent enough name. Oh, there we go. We just got a Dodger lineup out with JD Martinez in it. So I'm going to have to rebuild a lot because I was sort of thinking they'd give him another day, but we'll see. All right. Anyway, I don't. The reason why they're being overlooked is because of how many teams there are. I mean, I'm looking at Goldie's projected ownership right now. Okay, he probably hasn't pushed his final run yet, but it's probably worth noting this is the industry aggregate. This is everything we have out there, and what the industry thinks right now is that no single hitter, and this could end up being off a little bit. That outside of Arizona, nobody is really owned. Maybe Atlanta to some extent. That's pretty much it. Like, I don't know. I personally think that you really can feel pretty good with playing almost any stack. But the reason the Dodgers are getting overlooked is simply because Atlanta is in a good spot and Arizona is in a good spot, and you can't play everybody. I think there's going to be a lot of guys in like a 7 to 12% owned range tonight. including some Dodgers. But I just think that's the way it's going to go. And for what it's worth, the best hitting, I mean, this is the best evening hitting conditions that the Dodgers have had all year. Now, they've had some better ones during the day, but 81 degrees at night in LA with 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right center, 11-mile-an-hour winds, that signed me up for that. I mean, the Dodgers in a good hitting spot, I'm in. So I'm getting it. But that's why they're not getting love. They're not getting love because of simply the number of teams on the slate. They are expensive. In most spots, they have some, you could play Jason Hayward to get off of some of the, to get some savings. David Peralta to get some savings. Even Rojas to get some savings if you want to. And there is always pinch hit risk with everybody in the Dodger lineup from 6 through 9, least of which would probably be Outman or Rojas. But it's a gamble. Like I'm just completely willing to be in on the Dodgers today. And again, I don't have them that much more than I have Atlanta and St. Louis, but I do have them a little bit more than St. Louis, probably really close with Atlanta, very, very close to similar ownership. I'm actually going to look at my exposures really quick and see if I'm actually accurate with what I'm looking at. So I'm just going to look at my exposures and let's see, not golf. We want to see MLB. So my highest owned players by percentage are Michael Harris, Mookie Betts, sadly, Nicky Lopez, because he's in all my Braves stack. So I guess I have a little more of the Braves, and then we get into the Dodgers and then the Cardinals. I am getting different, though. Like right now, I have 26% Bobby Miller. I have 26% Hancock. I'm just going to go to the position so I can do this a little bit better. Bobby Miller, Hancock, Pivetta, Hendricks are my top pitchers. And that just feels weird. I got onto Bryce Elder a lot more than I thought I was going to today. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Everybody, a lot of pitchers around 15 to 30% for me. Nobody really. I'm making a huge case on. And I'm looking at my lineups here, and I definitely am a little Braves heavy. And I probably am going to stick with most of that, but I might end up with a little more Dodgers. It's going to be very close between the Braves and Dodgers in my ownership. Who am I taking on the Mariners? There's not a player on the Mariners lineup that I don't have in my lineup, so I don't know how to answer that question. And TJ, I just want to reiterate, I do think it's wrong to try to think about individual players. When you're making a 5-man stack, you really aren't going to cross anybody out when the bottom of the lineup has guys at 2,100. The one guy actually I don't have much of is Josh Rojas. Everybody else I have exposure to. Favorite would be Cal Raleigh and Julio Rodriguez. For value, Canzone and Ty France. And then Suarez for home run upside and Mike Ford because of his price. So those would be my Seattle guys. Did I hear you were playing Texas? No, I'm not playing Texas at all. I don't have one Texas stack. I don't think I have a Texas player in any of my lineups. I have no issue with anybody who wants to do that. There's a lot of viable stacks tonight. While Giolito has that huge blow-up side to him, I do think there's better pitchers to pick on, or better spots to attack. But look, I mean, Texas we know can go off. This is a spot, like I loved them last night, and they were completely unknown. They're going to be unknown again tonight. If you want to play Texas, go ahead. I just personally didn't get to that stack. The Texas stack was a good one yesterday. So all of my stacks were awesome to me yesterday, actually. So I can't complain, except for my only stack that didn't come through was Pittsburgh, but everybody else came through. Texas, Atlanta, the Mets to some extent. It's pretty nice. About Boston, Washington. My biggest take is that I don't like that I'm playing some Pivetta, but I am. And I'm going to play some Josiah Gray as well. I understand that people would like to stack up Boston and do that stuff. Boston, I'll just remind everybody, is severely much worse on the road than they are at home. You have the little wind blowing in Washington. So I'm just not all that interested in the Boston side of things that much today. But I'm not going to fault anybody. Like if you want to play Trevor Story, one thing you do have if you play that game is Josiah Gray. As much as I think he has upside every time he starts, he does give up a lot of power. So taking a Trevor Story or maybe a Verdugo or Turner, or obviously Devers and Cassis, every one of 1 through 6 makes sense to me, but I don't really want to play them as a stack. And that's the thing. Yoshida is out. That's true. And Josiah Gray, it's not even all that he's just bad. He gives up a lot of home runs there, and that's just the way he pitches. It's just what we know about him. See, why do we need to leverage against Philly? Like, that's just, to me, Jenna, the problem is that's completely the wrong way to try to attack these slates. I talk about it all the time. Why do I want to attack one of the best pitchers on the slate? And the leverage is not a good excuse, because there's no reason you can't play a low-owned stack anywhere, that you're not really getting leverage that you think you are. If you want to make that argument, maybe the A's with Dakota Hudson even, like, yeah, maybe that's something. But, like, I don't know. Overall, I just can't get my head around why people are so insistent on trying to get leverage on 13-game slates. I just don't think it's a good way to play. Maybe one bat or something like that, sure. But, like, what would be the reason to try to attack with one of the lowest run totals in the slate, with one of the worst spots in the slate? It just doesn't feel like a good spot at all to me. So are they going to score some runs? Yeah, probably. But I don't see why, like, we need to just try to play them as if they're playing the worst pitcher in baseball. TJ says he's going to cry and quit DFS if Severino shuts down the Braves. Hey, man, it's baseball. Things can happen. You get BABIP on your side. You find a little something. We've seen it happen. But I hear you. It does feel like a good spot for the Braves. All right. Trust the Blue Jays pitcher. Oh, Kikuchi? No, I don't trust it. I've gone through over and over again and said I don't trust any of the pitchers on the slate. So I'm not going to change my mind about that. I have Kikuchi as a slightly worse play than Bobby Miller. That's where I have Kikuchi. I think Bobby Miller is a much better play. I think Bobby Miller actually is really the right. I feel good to have him as my highest owned pitcher. I don't care about the variance. I just usually I want my sure pitcher in points and stuff. I'm going to play the upside guy at 9,300, who's every bit as good. The best pitcher on this slate in 2 years will be Bobby Miller. There won't be a better pitcher. Maybe next year. Maybe as soon as next year, he'll be the best pitcher that's on this slate. And we've already seen glimpses of it. But he's also had some really, really tough matchups his last times out. He had to pitch at Texas, at Arizona, at San Diego. There is nothing easy. Even Cincinnati, these are not easy matchups. This matchup is much better for him. Does it mean it's going to work out? I don't know. But I'm willing to go ahead and risk it with Bobby Miller and Bryce Elder as a combination, where those guys are getting ignored for really no reason when people are going to play Kikuchi, who I think has less upside than both those pitchers do. And people are going to play Pivetta, who also has less upside than both those pitchers do. But he's a little cheaper, obviously. And by the way, if you were going to get leverage, I actually think that using Oakland or using the Nationals would be my favorite way to get leverage. But I just don't think you need to think out of that on this kind of slate. That's just my take. All right, guys, any other questions, any other stuff before I get out of here? I always get that nervous feeling when I'm looking at my lineups and I don't have the guys who I expect to be playing in the lineups. So I'm going to have to make some changes here. And just for what it's worth, while JD Martinez makes me like the Dodgers lineup better, I just want to throw out that I don't expect JD Martinez to get all of his at-bats necessarily even. You might see a double switch late or something. Just keep an eye out for it, because it certainly is a possibility. But I've got to go rebuild a bunch of Dodger stacks and finish the rest of my builds, and then we can go from there. Let me just see. The Dodgers release the lineup, and then oh, there it goes. Yeah, it's live. It seems like it's actually there. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do, because we thought Chris Taylor might be in the lineup as well. Obviously, that's not going to happen. So both Taylor and Mookie would come in if they brought a lefty in. I'm sorry, both Taylor and Kike will come in if they bring a lefty in. But where do they bring the lefty in? They could bring them in to start off the six, like if the 6, 7, 8 were starting off an inning. But are they really going to do it if it's like just the 8-hitter leading off an inning? And would you bring a lefty to face Outman with Mookie coming up in 2 spots? I don't think so. With Will Smith in the hole, like I don't think so. But it's possible. Like it's always hard to know. It really just depends on how what's happening in the game. Anyway, guys, please click the like button before you get out of here. We'd appreciate it. We want to keep the positive momentum going and keep doing these shows for free. We'll hopefully have Sheets back for live tomorrow. I don't believe he will be here in the morning. And those of you who haven't checked it out, make sure to watch Goldie's stuff. If you want to get better at DFS, just watch Goldie's videos, and you're going to get just better and better every day. You're going to know more and more. And the guy's awesome. So thank you, Jenna. Good luck to you as well. Thank you to all you guys for tuning in. Please click the like button before we leave. And let's crush it tonight. Let's make some money, y'all. Good luck.